With the new My Lowe's Pro Rewards American Express card, earn 3 points per dollar spent on Lowe's qualifying purchases for the first 6 months after card account opening. Plus, save 5% every day on eligible purchases at Lowe's and earn points on eligible purchases everywhere else Amex is accepted. Card members get more at Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. 5% can't be combined with any other offer. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Points subject to loyalty terms at Lowe's.com/terms and credit reward terms at Synchrony.com/MLPRA-terms. Visit Lowe's.com/business credit.
Looking for these better days.
It is Thursday, May 28th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. The Carolina Hurricanes are one win away from the Stanley Cup final after a 4-0 victory over the Canadiens last night in Montreal. And tonight, the San Antonio Spurs will look to stave off elimination against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's right. We're going to talk some playoffs here on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. We'll also talk about some Major League Baseball sweep systems, but we start in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where last night the Hurricanes, a 4-0 victory over the Canadiens as they take a commanding 3-1 series lead. And I thought last night you were going to get the best effort of the series from the Montreal Canadiens because their season is essentially on the line, or was essentially on the line. I know that comebacks have happened in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, we have seen that before. We've seen 3-1 comebacks. We've seen 3-0 comebacks. But 3-1, the series is very difficult to come back if you are not on the same level, at least, with the team that you're playing against. And the Montreal Canadiens are just not on the same level with the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina outshot Montreal last night 43-18. This is on the heels of a game in which Carolina dominated in the shots on goal in game number 3 of the series. And here's an interesting stat, courtesy of OptaStats. The Canadiens have 43 shots on goal in 197 minutes and 35 seconds of game time over the last 3 games. That is an average of 13.1 shots per 60 minutes. That is the fewest shots per 60 minutes by any NHL team over any 3-game span, regular or postseason, since shots were first tracked in 1955. I repeat, going back to 1955, that's the fewest shots per 60 minutes by any NHL team over any 3-game span, regular or postseason, and it has happened on the biggest stage in the biggest moment here for the Montreal Canadiens. And the thing that really, stands out to me about all of this is that it's not like Carolina's blocking all these shots. Okay, Carolina had 18 blocked shots yesterday. Montreal had 23 blocked shots. It's just no offensive possession whatsoever and really no opportunity to get pucks towards the net at all. Game 1 was the perfect storm for Montreal. They took advantage of Carolina having an 11-day layoff, and they looked like a team that was coming off of a Game 7. They were still riding an emotional high. They were still physically in playoff mode, and they took it to the Carolina Hurricanes, who looked like they had just been practicing against themselves for a week and a half. But then Game 2 happened, and then Game 3, and then Game 4. And if you go through all of those games, Game 1 aside, where Montreal clearly had the better of the play, Carolina has not just dominated this series, but they flat out have embarrassed the Canadiens. In game number, I'm just going to look at I look at all the analytical stats, and, we can look at all situations, but really 5v5 to me tells the story, because that's when everything's even, right? 5-on-5 hockey, no power plays, no abbreviated 4-on-4s. It's just your true 5-on-5 metrics, how you do. Game number 1, even Carolina had the better of the play in game number 1. They just didn't have the better of the goals and the better of the scoring chances. But they still had a little bit more expected goals compared to Montreal. It just didn't work out that way, right? At 5-on-5 in game number 1, Montreal outscored Carolina 4-2. And then game numbers 2 and 3, despite the fact that they were overtime games, they were still one-sided. Game number 2, I like to look at the Fenwick scores, which to me is more telling than the Corsi stats in hockey, where Corsi is all of your shot attempts, but which, tells the possession and the control of the game. Fenwick is your unblocked shot attempts, meaning like how many shots are you actually getting that go towards the net, whether they hit the goalie or they're not. They're just, the only way you're going to score goals is if you get pucks towards the net, right? So in game number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes had a 67% Fenwick percentage. Game number 3, 63%. Game number 4, 73%. It just domination. And then you look at the scoring chances, 24-16 in game 2, 31-17 in game 3, 36-9 in game number 4. High danger chances. Game number 1, it was 12-12. Like, okay. Game number 2, 10-7 in favor of Carolina. Then game 3, 14-4 in favor of Carolina. And in game 4 last night, 18-4 in favor of Carolina. This has been a complete one-sided series. And the fact that we didn't get that effort from Montreal last night tells me that this series is over. And Carolina is, like I said, if Montreal doesn't win, Carolina is going to win 4 straight and win this series. That's exactly what's going to happen when these two teams play coming up tomorrow night in Carolina. The Hurricanes are minus 240. Might as well go ahead and lay it on the puck line, minus a goal and a half at plus 102 up on FanDuel right now, because with it being an elimination game, there could be, you can win by, one, two, three, four. Like the empty net can be pulled for an extended period of time. I might take a look at some alts in this game. Like, you can certainly do the puck line minus 1.5, but I might look at some minus 2.5s, minus 3.5s, in fact, in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes, because this will be a coronation for them, and they will win the Eastern Conference final on their home ice and earn a trip to the Stanley Cup final to match up with the Vegas Golden Knights. Odds to win the Stanley Cup final right now up on FanDuel: Carolina minus 160, VGK plus 135. And you already know where I stand. VGK as a dog. Come on. Please. Come on. NBA playoffs tonight. The Thunder will look to close out the San Antonio Spurs in game number 6 of the Western Conference Finals. And up on FanDuel right now, we talked about this game with Mackenzie Rivers yesterday. San Antonio, a 3.5-point favorite, total of 219.5. The system is unlocked, which is the Spurs in the first quarter. We've already placed that bet. We're confident in that bet. That's the first quarter system with the team coming off of the loss in the series and then is favored in the next game. And you know something? As much as, I was curious, because as much as like I think that San Antonio wins and forces a game 7, as much as like a lot of people that have been covering this series and talking about this series and betting on this series think that San Antonio wins and forces a game 7, I talked to somebody in San Antonio and I asked how they felt, and they said, and this is somebody that covers the Spurs, and they said they think Oklahoma City wins tonight. So take that for what it is. I'm not betting the game. I'm just betting the first quarter. I'll dive into some props as well. I think we get a bounce back performance from Victor Wembanyama, and we know that the ancillary pieces, the bench players, the role players, they always tend to have better performances on their home floor as opposed to on the road. Do I think that tonight looks like what game 4 looked like in San Antonio, with an absolute embarrassment of the Thunder and the Thunder punting that game away? No, I think this will be much more competitive, but I like San Antonio more than anything to come out early and start fast. They've been great in the first quarters. Even in the first quarter that they lost 2 days ago, they still scored 27 points. And if you maybe look at the team total in the first quarter tonight for San Antonio, because they scored 27 points, as I mentioned 2 days ago. They scored 31 points, before that, right? They had the back-to-back games with the 31 points in the first quarter, 28 points in the first quarter in game number 4. So it was 27, 31, 31, 28, 27. I think we have a theme here. Anything over 26.5 is a bet for the team total in the first quarter. In fact, let's see what they have up on FanDuel right now to see if this is in fact an official play for us. If they have first quarter team total. All right. 27.5 for the San Antonio Spurs. I like it. They scored 28 points tonight in the first quarter, and they win the first quarter as per our system. Looking at we talked yesterday with Mackenzie about the advanced lines for the finals for game number ones as FanDuel has posted those early lines. There's been no change to what we talked about yesterday. Thunder, a hypothetical 6.5 point favorite at home against the Knicks in game one. The Spurs, a 4.5 point favorite, hypothetically speaking, at home in game number one against the New York Knicks. Now, could those lines move if the Spurs and Thunder have to play a game seven? Yes, I think they will, because we know about teams coming off of a game seven versus a team that is well rested. And that'll be the ideal situation for the New York Knicks if the Thunder and the Spurs wind up playing a 7-game series. But that would mean that San Antonio wins tonight, and San Antonio a 3.5 point favorite in tonight's game number 6. Major League Baseball, we talk about the sweep avoidance systems all the time, right? And yesterday was a day where there were several games that fit the situation, which is teams to avoid the 3-game sweep in Major League Baseball, and why these games are going under at just like an incredibly high rate. Yesterday, you had Yankees Royals went under, Mets Reds went under, Rays Orioles went over, Phillies Padres went under, Giants Diamondbacks went under. The A's game, oh my goodness, this was one that we actually played and lost. A's Mariners goes over. The total in that game was 9. 6-0 lead for the Mariners. Top of the 8th inning, a 3-run home run makes it 9-0. And then the A's scored a meaningless run on the bottom of the 9th. 9-1 was the final. Unbelievable. But Cardinals Brewers went under, and also the Nationals game against the Guardians went under. So just yesterday, we had, let's see, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2. It was yesterday to the under. And on the season, the sweep avoidance unders are now 68, 42, and 4. Someone asked me, is this just a blind, like do we blindly just bet this? Like, is there any reasoning behind why these games are going under, or is it just, hey, this is the trend and we're going to bet it? I think there's reasons why. And I think a lot of it has to do with, certainly it's the reason why I like playing the day games more so than the night games, because I think if it's a day game after a night game, you have the situation where you can get a backup catcher, maybe backup catchers for both of the teams, and also maybe just bullpen usage is different. Guys are fatigued from a series. Teams might be thinking about already the getaway day spot, getting on a plane after the game, traveling to the next city. You've already taken the first 2 games of the series. There's a little lax in that next day game, and with your schedule thrown off a little bit. I think there's a lot of reasons that go into why these games are going under. So yes, I mean, the trends have worked. We have played it. We have won it. But there's reasons behind these trends. So it's not just blindly betting them for no reason. We're telling them for a reason. Let's look at the schedule of games here for this Thursday. We have a couple of day games. Angels at the Tigers. Jack Flaherty on the mound for the Tigers. He is 0-6 on the season. Detroit, a -131 favorite. Twins are at the White Sox. Davis Martin goes for Chicago, and he's quite the opposite. 7-1 on the season for Davis Martin and a 2.04 ERA. White Sox playing good baseball right now. They're -142 favorites. Chris Sale's on the mound for the Braves in Boston against the Red Sox. Atlanta, -143 favorite. And then tonight, you got Patrick Corbin on the bump for Toronto in Baltimore, taking on Chris Bassett, former Blue Jays pitcher. He's on the bump for the Orioles. Baltimore, -136. Cubs, who finally snapped their losing skid at 10 straight games. They beat the Pirates yesterday 10-4. Do we want to now back them here against the Pirates tonight? Colin Ray on the mound for the Cubs. Paul Skeens goes for the Pirates. Pirates -175. And Astros take on the Rangers. Spencer Arrighetti and his 6-1 record on the mound for the Astros. Rangers -155 with Nathan Eovaldi on the bump. And I wanted to look that up real quick, how teams have done after snapping a 10-game losing skid. Like, do we want to back them, right? So if we look at the history of the database, and if you have a streak of, let's say, 10 games or more, so you're coming off of actually, we're going to have to look at It's too big of a sample size. So since the start of the 2021 season, that's our favorite thing. Coming off of a losing streak of 10 games or more, in the next game, you are 88 and 129. Woof. If you have zero rest, so you're just playing the next day, 84 and 113. Oof. And if you're playing the same team that you just beat, snapping that losing skid, 67 and 84. Oof. So no numbers are good here, wanting to back the Chicago Cubs. So maybe it's just the Pirates. Bet the Pirates and give the Cubs another loss and start another losing skid. All right, that'll wrap up this episode of Better Day. I know it's a short episode, but we do have some big things that we're working on behind the scenes up on betterday.com. Plus, you can also listen to a full baseball preview coming up tomorrow with Colby Marchio and Jake Hassan. They did their Off the Board podcast yesterday. They'll do another episode tomorrow. So Wednesdays and Fridays, they stream live on the Better Day YouTube and the Better Day Twitter page. Make sure you're following us across all of your social media platforms. Again, we're going to have some announcements coming in the next month or so as we gear up towards football season. It's just a big time to be on board with us here at Better Day. I'm Scott Seidenberg, and here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.